pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Commissioner Coach, would you lead us in a prayer?
Dear Lord, thank you for allowing us to gather this day to do the good work of the county. Please impart wisdom upon us and impart patience upon us as we work through our discussions and our labors. Thank you, Lord. Amen.
Amen.
Do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
I move to do so.
Speak up. You got to appear.
I move to approve the agenda.
A second.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? So moved. All right. Next one up is Eric Nelson with the Natrona County Collective Health Trust for an update.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Commissioners, I think you all know me, obviously, but for anyone who may be watching, my name is Eric Nelson. I am a county appointee on the Natrona Collective Health Trust, and as of January this year, I am the chair of the board. It's my pleasure to appear before you today to discuss the trust. I know there's a couple of items that may be of interest, Mr. Chairman. Any preference on how you'd like me to proceed or anything you'd like me to address specifically?
I'll let you move ahead.
Okay.
We'll ask if there's any questions from anybody once we get done, then we'll open it up.
Very good. Well, I think two items of interest. One, and the first being our request for a 90-day extension to supply our final report on Banner's compliance to you. As many of you may know, the trust is obligated to report by March 31st to the County Commission as to the compliance or lack thereof of Banner to their contractual obligations and covenants. The report from Banner to the trust is due March 1st. Last year, we heard, I think, very loud and clear from this commission and from others in the community that there were concerns with that compliance. And having made it to our third year of existence, I think that the board realized that we needed to bring additional expertise to bear to really take a deep dive into their compliance status. So the board issued an RFP. We received a number of responses. We did 2 interviews. Ultimately, the trust elected to retain the services of PYA. It's a national consulting firm that does this type of work across the country. They've served as court-appointed monitors for various hospital system transactions. They bring a full complement of professionals to bear, including hospital administrators, former healthcare providers, accountants, attorneys, really a very deep bench, and we were very, I think, collectively impressed with their approach to the work. One, ensuring that they're going to be completely independent, so they've been given all of the transaction documents. They're going to be here in town here yet this month to meet with Banner, to meet with the collective, and to start that work. It's going to go beyond just kind of behind the scenes investigation, if you will. There will be a portal online for community members to submit concerns, questions that they have. Those will go directly to PYA for them to review, analyze, and potentially follow up on. The trust has also stood up an ad hoc committee to work with PYA and Banner throughout this process. That committee is not only made up of members of the trust, but we have enlisted multiple members from the community, including a physician, former commissioner, with some knowledge of the transaction to help us in this work. So I think this is all very much in response to what we heard from this commission as wanting, and so we believe that we're being responsive. That being said, we were able to get them under contract in January. They're going to be out here for the first time in February. And after talking to PYA, they're going to need some additional time to really do that deep analysis and really get this kick-started. We've got them on contract for 3 years, so this will not be a one-off endeavor. Given our March 31st requirement to provide that report to the county, we've asked for an additional 90-day extension. Now, a couple things I want to point out. This will not, if granted and agreed to by you all, will not change Banner's obligation to report to us by March 1st. That will remain intact and remains intact. Secondly, it is not our intent to be radio silent and not have communication with this commission or the community for those 90 days. And hopefully my presence here today brings some assurance to you that won't be the case. That being said, if we would like some assurances in writing in terms of specific dates that we can come and give updates and report on progress, I think that the trust board would be amenable to that. I certainly would advocate for that. I don't know that I'm cloaked with that authority to agree to that today, but certainly would advocate for that. So with that, I think that's, Mr. Chairman, kind of an overview, and I'd certainly stand for any questions that you all might have.
Thank you, Eric. I guess the first thing that I'd ask is if you'd be willing to come back in late March and just kind of give us an update and see, so we know where things are going and where we're at, just so we're informed, to make sure that we don't have any additional questions at that time.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, absolutely. Just to be clear, I think that we view the county, as a partner in this. I think ultimately, I know that I want to see Banner succeed. I want to see healthcare be the best it can. I know that's the commitment of this commission, and so absolutely we would come back in March.
Okay. Got any other questions?
I have a question. It's not on the topic though, but maybe does the foundation have anything to do with this request by Banner? They're going to have some sort of bonding issue where they get $8.9 million a year because of some sort of construction they're doing at the hospital. Do you know anything about that at all?
Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Laird, I do not. That has not been a piece of information that's come across my desk or been reported to my house.
Information we got, they want us to put it on for hearing, Banner does, and pass it, but the numbers just tagged into you because what do you guys pay them? You're almost $9 million, right?
Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Laird, yes, over the years since the transaction, it's depending on the valuation of the assets, it's between 8 and 9.2, 9.3 million per year. So 3.3%.
That's the number they're talking about. It sounds like they have to raise every year, but they've hired some big league firm from New York City to handle this paper bonding or whatever. I can't find it in my notes here, but I just thought I would ask you if you knew anything about it.
I do not.
Commissioner Laird, I believe that's something we're going to be talking about here shortly.
That's great.
Yeah, I just wanted to know.
With Banner.
I just wanted to know though if the foundation had anything to do with it.
Okay.
Not to my knowledge.
Okay. Any other questions? Commissioner Nicholas?
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Nelson, thanks for being here today. You have intimate knowledge of the hospital cell transaction when you represented the county as its attorney. My understanding is that the extension's already been agreed to by a signed written letter from our chairman. Is that correct?
Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Gleason, that is correct. I did. The trust did receive a signed letter from the commission chair.
Yeah, and the chair the commission didn't have an opportunity to discuss this. Frankly, I think it's a bad idea to give your organization any additional time without getting something in return. You'll realize that I asked for you to hire a in-house person last year when you reported, and I also suggested a outside consultant. Have you hired an inside person?
Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Nicolason, no, the trust has not hired an inside or an employee that would be tasked with exclusively monitoring compliance.
And you'll recall that your organization elected not to, or it declined to come before us last fall despite being on the agenda. Do you remember that?
Chairman, Commissioner Nicolason, yes, I do.
So when you say that you want to be essentially an open book, it strikes me that that hasn't been the case for the last 10 months. And I had requested, but have never received, a copy of the RFP, the agreement with this consultant. It seems to me that the county has a vested interest in the form of $40 million, which is the conveyance principle, to be up to speed on the nature and scope of what you're doing. And I think that we're entitled to see that before granting any extension. I also think that a whole lot of your reporting has nothing to do with this consultant, and I think you indicated that you'll have a report to us by the end of March. Is that correct?
Commissioner Nicolason, we're certainly happy to report in some form or fashion to the Commission by the end of March. I think that the request is the complete final report that is we're contractually obligated to provide the Commission. That time would be extended to June.
Well, I'd like to see the annual report be filed in a timely manner. I might be fine with seeing your consultant's report or findings and conclusions by the end of the period requested. Was that June 30th?
That's correct.
So that's those are my feelings. I have a number of other questions that I think our attorneys can send you in writing that deal with more of the financial side of things. Are you still the treasurer, or is someone else the treasurer now?
I am not the treasurer at this point, although as the chair I sit on every committee, so I'm still intimately involved in the financial aspects.
Who's the treasurer?
Abby. I gotta think of her last name.
Has Mr. Masterson been replaced yet?
He has not, although he has stayed active as part of the ad hoc committee with regard to the transaction.
And I think there was a turnover and an appointment of a new board member last calendar year. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And who is that individual that you brought on?
Dr. Knudsen Johnson.
And what is her specialty?
She is an internist, but now and a pediatric physician, but practices solely in the pediatric realm.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
County Attorney, would you respond to Commissioner Nicolason's question on
With respect to the waiver?
Yes.
Yes. So, yes, Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Nicolason, yes, unfortunately, the waiver and extension was signed without properly going before the county commissioners to consider and vote on. That happened. It was my mistake that happened. I believe that if the commissioners would like, they can, we can discuss it further. It could be added to this evening's agenda. The decision to grant the extension and waiver could be ratified this evening, or the commission could vote to essentially rescind or revoke that letter that granted that extension, if you so choose to.
Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Madam County Attorney. I had spoken with you about that letter before it was executed. It was still executed. Now, isn't that a modification of the contract?
Yes, I would agree that it is, Commissioner Nicolason.
And do you believe, I know that our chair signed on behalf of the board, do you believe that's an effective amendment or change to the county agreement with the collective?
Mr. Chairman or Commissioner Nicholas, I believe it has to go before the board for approval.
And
to be
so,
effective.
and so my legal opinion, although I'm not providing legal opinion to this board and won't in the future, but my opinion would be that the letter is void as a matter of law. Is that correct or incorrect?
I can't disagree with that.
So is that
Nicholas.
correct or incorrect?
I believe it's correct.
Thank you.
I have a question.
Commissioner Alert.
I couldn't quite hear everything over here. I don't feel well today, pardon me, but did you give Mr. North advice that it was okay for him to sign that?
You know, I did speak with Commissioner North about that. I did not tell him about my discussion with Commissioner Nicholas, and I didn't tell him there was anything wrong with signing it. So, you know, ultimately he relied on me and signed it, and it was sent out.
I don't understand how we get this far afield with some of your legal advice. This is embarrassing, I think. Why didn't you tell him that? You had a conversation with Mr. Nicholas.
I did. I don't have a good explanation, Commissioner Laird. I was a bit caught off guard, and I didn't mention it.
Mr. Chairman, if I may.
I'm not finished yet.
I apologize, Commissioner Laird.
Thank you. So you gave another legal opinion to Mr. Nicholas about whether this would be void or not. How do you know that? Did you research that?
Yes, I did look into it.
And what can the foundation say about it, because they apparently relied on it?
You'll have to ask.
No, I'm asking you,
Nelson.
because that's part of the legal question.
I don't believe that they can rely on the letter since it wasn't approved at a commission meeting with a vote by the commissioners.
Has this ever happened before since you've been a county attorney,
No.
where the chairman signed something without the commission voting on it?
Well, no, I take that back. Yes, it has happened on other occasions. Typically, you're aware, though, and then you later ratify whatever
So
document
who
it
was
is.
the chairman that signed those without a meeting of the county commissioners?
I think both Commissioner Nicolaisen, when he was chair, Commissioner Friel. It happens from time to time when we don't have time to get something on an agenda for a meeting.
I kind of remember some of those, actually. And so now what you think is, you're giving some legal, what did you find legally that supports your legal opinion, that this is null and void?
That individual commissioners can't bind the county.
I would say that may be true, but where do you get that?
From Wyoming Supreme Court case law.
Did you have a case with you?
No, I don't have a case with me
Do
today.
you know what the case is?
There are several.
And you didn't bring any of them with you? This is a big deal for me. Because I want to know the depth of your legal advice here. If you've gotten our chairman in a bind with your legal advice, I'm really not happy about that at all.
I understand.
So do you want to take a recess? I'd like to see the case she's talking about. And I'd like to get that. I'm assuming she can get it right away, right?
Yes.
Is that a yes?
Yes.
Let's take a little recess.
motion?
I make a motion to take a recess.
Second.
He seconds it.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so we'll take a 5-minute recess.
No. Do we let the record stay or do we rescind it subject to them providing stuff in order? Okay. Okay. Yeah.
You can holler and
Could be pretty quick. So, I think we have a solution.
It,
I don't know if I'm gonna have this, my computer isn't running slow and I can't think of the name of the case. Probably, but
You've got us in binder.
back in order or not?
And when I look at the statute, it gives him this
Are we back in order?
broad authority.
Dallas, let's go ahead.
Capital chairman. So I could take a look at that statute and see what authority he has, which could maybe be inferred. I don't know, but I'd have to see it.
well, there is a case law that addresses that you can't act individually.
Dallas.
No, but what I'm addressing here is the issue.
Dallas.
Just a second. The issue of chairman who has the authority to set the agenda, the time, and all of that, as to whether he can allow somebody to continue on a presentation. That's a different sort of issue.
Yeah, and I don't see any problem with that.
Isn't that what he did?
Today, right now, you mean?
No, the deal where he signed.
I think it's a little different. It's distinct.
But that's what
Hey,
I
Dallas.
see on the
Looks like
statute.
you're only gonna get 30 minutes.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, she can't find a case, and I'm thinking that the statute that gives the commission, the chairman, certain authorities concerning meetings, and so.
Okay. Well,
What do you think, Eric?
we're gonna be back in session. So, with us being back in session, Commissioner Nicolason,
The-
you had a recommendation?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, my recommendation is that we ratify the letter that was signed on behalf of the board, subject to timely production of certain specified documents from that our county attorney can send. I've mentioned them for the most part already today, but I think in that regard we could just move forward, and so I would make that motion.
Do I have a second on that?
I'll second that.
Okay, any discussion? Okay, all in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed? So moved, so we will do that. We'll move forward and ratify that with qualifications.
I still want to see the case. I'd like to see it today if you figure
I'll
out
work
how to
on
do
it,
it.
Douglas.
Okay.
So, Mr. Chairman, I appreciate that. I'll look forward to receiving a list of documents. I did jot down a couple that Commissioner Layson mentioned, and I will report back to our director and start getting that stuff together. Absolutely. So,
Appreciate it.
is there anything else that I can address for y'all regarding the trust? I know you guys are time crunched today, so I don't want to take up more time.
So I think we can probably tell our next time you come before us and bring some more information. So,
Appreciate it.
so
Thank you for the opportunity.
thank you, Eric. Appreciate your coming out.
Just before he goes, I found the letters from a firm named Hawkins It says Banner expects to apply a portion of the proceeds of the commercial paper notes in a maximum amount not to exceed $8,300,000 and will reimburse Banner for the cost of constructions, renovations, equipment acquisitions, and improvements of Banner healthcare facilities. Goes on about these these financial documents that they want to have a hearing about, but is the money you pay them, is that what that goes for?
Mr. Chairman, Commissioner, the obligation of the trust is to give 3.3% on an annual basis of our net assets to Banner WMC to be utilized for the betterment of the facility here in Natrona County. So we don't have, I don't believe, the ability to dictate exactly how it's spent. If what you're reading is that they're seeking a bond issuance and pledge some of that, that's all unbeknownst to me. I can certainly inquire to find out, but I don't believe that they've come to the trust with any of that information, at least to my knowledge.
Yes, says Banner has requested the issuance of commercial paper notes of the Maricopa County Authority designated as Maricopa's authority tax exempt commercial paper revenue in a maximum principal amount not to exceed $400 million. But then they want us to have some sort of hearing, and this is out of my expertise, but some of these numbers kind of seem to be strange.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioner, I mean, Maricopa would be, I think, Phoenix, that's where they're headquarters. I don't know if this is a bond issuance for the entire system, and they need to do some diligence here in Natrona County. I really can't speak to it, and I should probably just
It may be
stop.
totally irrelevant, but if you check it out, let me know.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I kind of appreciate Commissioner Laird bringing up this letter. I respect that Mr. Nelson, I don't think has seen it, certainly isn't up to speed on it. But I do have some questions that pertain to the collective. And I have some serious concerns about the request being made of the county by this Hawkins law firm on behalf of Banner Health and Miami Medical Center. They indicate that they may spend up to $8.3 million. And it's for financing, refinancing, reimbursements. We're not clear. It does say in one, I think on the attorney's cover letter, that it's money to be spent or to reimburse for money spent on lab facilities. And so my question to the collective is, have you in your history over the last 5 years spent money on lab or lab facilities related items? If so, I think there would be additional questions related to is that appropriate or not? Maybe your CEO has had conversations with Mr. Porter over at Banner about lab facilities, but maybe we can get at least more information from the collective about those improvements to lab facilities and whether they're appropriate, whether the collective has an opinion on that as part of its duties to monitor what's going on over at Banner. So that was my question directed at the collective as it relates to the Hawkins letter. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you. We don't have any other questions.
Okay.
I appreciate it, Eric.
Thank you all.
Okay. Michael Brown, we appreciate you coming in today and kind of filling us in on where we're at and what you found out for us.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. I submitted a memo that should be in your packet. There were a couple of revisions I did to that when I got a formal proposal from an electrician. This is in reference to the fire alarm issue on the mountain. Currently, our occupancy allows us 99 people. I can propose to the county fire department to get that waived for special events. They're doing that for this weekend's high school races. We have approval to have up to 200 people in that building for these races as long as we have a person on fire watch. I have a new employee that's starting Thursday. He will be doing fire watch for that event. So I'm before you today to seek approval to utilize a budget capital outlay fund that was approved in my fiscal year for several items to be able to pay for the $17,896 that the fire alarm system. I know fire suppression has been mentioned a lot. This is not fire suppression. The fire marshal and fire chief mentioned that we won't have that. This is a fire notification system. Pull handles, sirens, strobe lights, in all the appropriate places. Speaking of county fire, they have reviewed this proposed plan and they are agreeable to it. So they have already looked at this plan. The capital outlay fund was for office furniture, for tables and chairs for the banquet hall, remainder of the architectural contract, security cameras, a powder house roof replacement, and outhouse roof replacements. To this date, just over $97,000 has been appropriated out of that $157,500, leaving $60,000, just over $60,000 to spend. I'm requesting today to take the $17,896 out of that, which leaves $42,000, $500 to replace an X number of outhouse roofs. I do not have an estimate for what those roofs will cost. We were hoping to replace 9 of them. Maybe we can get 7. Maybe we can get 6. But with this fire alarm system, the fire department is likely to increase the occupancy load to close to 200 people, which will make it, we can sell that better to people to use for family reunions, weddings and such. 99 is kind of limited, but we can still do that. So basically what I'm asking is, does this commission want to leave it at 99 and we work at that, or do we want to utilize some of these funds to get a fire alarm system in there and get that set up?
Well, I'll tell you my personal feeling on this right off the bat is that we need to move forward and get this taken care of as soon as possible so we can increase our capacity in that building. I know this is a cost that none of us were expecting, but basically by being able to double our occupancy and everything, I think it's worth every penny of it. And I do think that's something that we need to do. The other thing I wanted to make sure that is very clear is that there wasn't one person that dropped the ball on this. There was a whole series of cracks where things slipped through. And it goes back several years in the way we had permits and everything else where the permit, we had a design permit, and then we had a contractor permit. And the contractor permit did not know what the design permit necessarily were because they were totally different. That's one thing. There was a lot of individuals that work for the county, both in county fire and here in the courthouse and our building department and other places that we lost that. So in that transition, a lot of this information was lost. So I don't want anybody to think that we're pointing the finger at any one person. This is something that we're working on getting taken care of so we don't have this happen again. The permits through our building department are going to be conjoined from now on so that when the contractor gets it, that we don't see those notes and find out just exactly what's on there. One thing that we will do in the future to make sure is county fire will be involved. They're the ones that will set the occupancy. That's what we have a contract with them for right now. They're the ones that establish what type rating it is and what the occupancy is, and that's something that we need to make sure that we get that covered and taken care of, because they are our final authority on that, because they do it all the time. I realize that other individuals would like to be able to set that and say that they're looking at the code and everything else, but we're relying on county fire to do that for us out of the county. And so that is one thing that we are going to do, but my recommendation is that we move forward with this. Any other comments on that?
I have a comment. A lot of things seem to be slipping through people's fingers for some reason. I don't know why it is. But if this equipment, and I'm for putting the equipment in as soon as we can do it. I think I said that at the last meeting. But what I want to know is if a guy who knew what he was doing and he walked through that building 2/3 of the way through and he looked around, would he know there wasn't any fire alarm equipment in there?
That depends on who he is. I'm not a code official. I'm not a building official. I rely on other personnel.
I'm not saying you, I'm just saying isn't there somebody that would be working in there that would walk by and say, where's the fire equipment? Or is it just stuff you wouldn't see?
Commissioner Laird, let me answer that question.
No, I don't want,
I'm
respectfully, I'm asking him if he knows anybody that could have done that up there.
So, county building department did interim inspections. I don't know if that would have fallen upon them. I don't know if it would have been the mechanical electrical engineers as they did their inspections from the
So
design.
who's in charge? Who's the person who's in charge up there?
From what aspect?
Well, building our building and making sure it's right and not costing us a bunch of money. Who's in charge?
Well, I was considered the owner rep, so I was the one there the
Well,
most.
you were in charge?
I guess you could put it on my head, yeah, sure.
Well, I don't.
I'll take responsibility
I
for it.
don't need to do it. I'm just wondering, how do we actually not have this happen again? What do we do to prevent something like this? So what I'd like to see is if you're the guy in charge, maybe you need to write up some memo on how we avoid having this problem. I mean, we need it. Fortunately, I don't think it's going to hurt too much, but if you read anything what some of the people on the mountain are saying, it makes somebody look like a buffoon. And the cost that we have in that building, which has surpassed the original bids, I think somewhat substantially.
Commissioner Laird, the original contract, I believe, was $2.93 or $2.98 million. The amount of change orders in total is, I think, approximately 7% of the original contract, which is fairly typical of most projects. You know, the health
Are we at
department.
$4 million up there?
We're right at $3 million. So.
Okay, because I think somebody up there on the mountain saying it was $4 million, and they're criticizing us for not overhauling the old building for $500,000 and this and that. I don't know if you've read any of that or not.
Oh yeah, I've read several of it. You know, there is, if you'd like to come to my office, there is a forensic report on the old building and why it was taken down. Obviously, that was done before I was hired, so I was not involved with that. But you know, currently we have the building open. It's operational. We'll have staff starting Thursday, so the banquet hall will be open and operational.
When will they be able to get that installed?
You know, I don't know exact schedule. It depends on equipment delivery. Depends on me executing these agreements, these proposals, signing those and submitting them back.
30 days?
Honestly, I'm not sure. I didn't check into that. I simply wanted to know if this was okay for a funding model from the commission, or if I just needed to operate at 99 with special requests.
All right, Commissioner Nicolason.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Michael, I think overall the project went pretty darn well. I think that if someone would have asked me a year or 2 years ago, should we have a fire alarm system, I would have said yes, regardless of the cost. I'm really pleased that it's only $17,000 and change, and I'm pleased that you've provided us with a really good solution on how we can pay for it without, additional money out of pocket. So I appreciate that, and I'm in favor of the funding proposal you've made. Thank you.
Okay, any other discussion? Commissioner Coates?
Mr. Brown, thank you for getting this in a timely manner. This is well put together, and I appreciate looking at essentially the shuffling of funds to cover this. I think that you've done a spectacular job. This is what we expect from staff, and thank you for the willingness to take ownership of something that by no means is entirely yours. That shows a lot of character. I really appreciate it. I'm absolutely in favor of this.
Commissioner Mel?
Mr. Chairman, I agree with you, Michael. I think we need to get this up to the 200-person point as fast as possible, so that it can be utilized as it was intended. And I also, it's a long haul, and things happen and attend consequences one way or the other. So, but overall, thank you for your working on this project. Let's just get it going and finish up with this.
I do have one more thing to say before we ask for a motion. Fire code is one of the most complicated codes to try to read because everything has an example and everything has an exception. And there's so many things when you're looking at it, and it's all how you interpret what it is. That's the reason why, we have to rely on one entity from now on to make sure that they're the ones that have that final say and they're the ones that have the input. I'm not pointing you that this is you, Michael. I'm saying that was one of the cracks that we had because we had different people looking at different things and coming up with different answers. And all those answers could be supported one way or another. But bottom line is you have to go to the final authority, which is the county fire department, and they're the ones that are the ones that ultimately have that final say. So with that, I'm going to open it up for a motion for approval.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion from Commissioner Nicolason and a second from Commissioner Laird to move forward with the fire alarm system in the Nordic Lodge and get that done as soon as we can.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I will execute these in the morning. I will update you guys on estimated schedule of installation.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, just point of order. I think we need to vote.
Oh, cool. Sorry. Good point. All right, all in favor, say
Aye.
Aye.
all opposed. So moved.
Chairman, who seconded it?
Dallas. Commissioner Laird.
So, Mr. Chairman, I just have a comment. It goes back to the fact that I'm the oldest guy here, but I do remember a guy named Harry Truman. I was a little kid when he was the president. And he had a little sign on his desk that says, "The buck stops here." So that's where that sign ought to sit. And that's the guy that needs to deal with it, wherever the buck stops.
County legal, you got updates?
I do. So commissioners, I do have a number for bond counsel for Banner. We can contact her with any questions that I think she'll be in the best position to answer with respect to the request for the public hearing that you have information on today.
Mr. Chairman, I have a few questions for our county attorney.
Okay.
Um,
Commissioner Nicholas, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Heather, did they provide anything else than these three documents? Did they provide any supporting documents?
The Chairman North, Commissioner Nicholas, and they have not. I had a phone call with them where they kind of laid out what they were requesting, but I have not received any additional documents other than what you've got.
So all of their three documents, the resolution they prepared for us, which I have problems with, the notice that they provided for us, which I have concerns with, and their cover letter all indicate that it's up to $8.3 million, but it could be for financing and expenditures, it could be for refinancing, it could be for reimbursement, and I'd like to know where we're at. So I'll work with you on giving you some questions that I think can shed light on some of this. I do think we need to tighten up the resolution. I think it has us making some affirmative statements of fact that we don't have any basis for making at this point. Mr. Chairman, that's all I have at this point. Thank you.
All right, so just for clarification, are you asking us to table this until a later time so we can get those answers back from them?
Good question, good clarification, Mr. Chairman. As long as we don't approve the notice and the resolution form, I'd like a little time to work with our county legal for that. So if that's on the consent agenda, I would like.
Commissioner Nicholas, it's not. This is informational at this point, and that's why I would like to maybe have the commission speak with this person on the phone, so that if you have some questions, and not that we can't ask additional questions, but that some of this stuff could be addressed today as well.
Okay.
If that's all right. That's the pleasure of the board.
That'll work. Any other questions on that? Okay. Any other legal updates?
Do you want to try to reach out to her first, or?
Yeah, we can do that.
Okay.
We can go ahead and do that.
Okay. Do you, let's see, do you do the calling?
Yeah, give me just a second. I lost it. No, hold on.
To basically say that's in the
Your call cannot be completed as dialed.
use.
Mr. Chairman, just for the record, I think we only ought to deal with Banner and this matter in writing. That's my own personal opinion.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Laird, are you saying maybe we should hear from Mr. Porter and Banner about this?
Yes.
And their cover letter did indicate that we could, or that our county attorney could call him, but I wonder about seeing him here.
It's a big deal. I think we ought to really look into this.
I think that'd be
Hello?
Hi.
Hello?
Is this Christine?
Yes, hi, Heather.
Hi, yes, this is Heather. I've got you in here with the county commissioners, Christine. I know they have some questions about the letter and the proposal for the public hearing.
Sure. Sure. Thank you for the time. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
Okay.
Would you, I guess maybe, Christine, would you please give an overview of what you're requesting of the county with respect to the,
Yeah.
to the letter?
Yes, sure. So, as we described in our letter, Banner Health, which is as you probably all know, is the owner now of Wyoming Medical Center. Banner is a 501c3 corporation, as is Wyoming Medical Center, and Banner is undertaking to do a tax-exempt financing in the form of commercial paper notes. And one of the requirements under the federal tax code is that in order to issue any tax-exempt bonds or tax-exempt obligations, the tax code requires that there be a public hearing held both in the jurisdiction where the issuer is located, and in this case, the issuer would be the county of Maricopa, Arizona, which is the home county for Banner's corporate offices and many of its facilities. And the tax code also requires that a public hearing be held in the jurisdiction where all of the projects to be financed are located. So specifically for the Wyoming Medical Center, it would be in Natrona County. And the purpose of the public hearing requirement under the code is really to allow members of the public to know that a project is being done in their jurisdiction or their area, and to give any members of the public an opportunity to speak out if they would like about the project. And then the code requires that the sort of governmental unit that has jurisdiction over the area in which the project is located, give approval to the issuance of the bonds for the purpose of financing the project. And this approval is an approval strictly for purposes of satisfying the Internal Revenue Code provisions that requires this public hearing process. And the approval is required both from the issuer jurisdiction, so Maricopa County IDA being the issuer, and also from Natrona County being the locality where Wyoming Medical Center is located. This financing, as you probably have seen from our letter that we did, it's a $400 million tax-exempt commercial paper program, and the proceeds from the sale of the commercial paper notes will be used at many of Banner's facilities located throughout Arizona, Wyoming, and Colorado. And we are doing this process in Colorado for the Colorado project and throughout the various localities in Arizona for the Arizona project. The project itself that would be done at Wyoming Medical Center is really limited to interior type renovations. There is no anticipated kind of increase of the footprint of the medical center, no wholly new buildings. It's really interior renovations and miscellaneous kind of routine capital expenditures that would be financed with the notes. The one particular area that the project is really intended to be used is at the hospital's lab facilities within the hospital. So I will stop here and see if you have any questions for me.
Commissioner Nicolason.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ma'am, I think I heard your name is Christine.
Yes, correct.
My name is Peter Nicolason. So I see you'd like us to approve this at our February 18th meeting, that
Yes.
the paper notes are expected to be issued in early March. I'm not pleased that we've only had a few days to have your letter and these materials, and I'm concerned that we're rushing to our public hearing on this. Is there any opportunity that we can push this back another month?
So I know you guys. I know you're on a every other week schedule.
First and third Tuesdays.
Okay, so first and third Tuesday. So there has been a slight delay in the financing schedule that we just learned about. By only a couple of weeks, basically. So the new schedule Banner is looking to close around March 17th. So the March 4th date would work with the new schedule if that would give you a higher level of comfort for, publishing the notice. The federal tax code notice requirement is a 7-day prior notice, and published on the locality's website would suffice. We could also run it in the newspaper if you prefer, but if you do post notices on your website, that suffices for the federal tax code requirements. So March 4th would work with the anticipated financing schedule. March 18th would be a little tight. I mean, I'm looking. Let me just make sure I'm looking at the right month here. Yeah. The targeted date now is around the 17th. The approvals need to be in hand before any notes are issued. So the 18th is a possibility. The 4th would be much better. We also can have the CEO of Wyoming Medical Center attend the public hearing. We are also happy to attend. We're bond counsel to Banner Health. We can attend as well if needed to answer any of the legal type questions. And Lance Porter is the CEO of Wyoming Medical Center, and he can attend the public hearing if you have questions about the medical center or any of the projects that are going to be financed with the notes.
Well, I'm not your bond counsel, so you probably don't have the gory detail of our history over the last few years with Wyoming Medical Center and Mr. Porter. I would hope that, and I would expect him to be here whenever the meeting is, whether it's February 18th or March 4th, which would be my preference. I guess I have a few thoughts. Number one, it says including but not limited to lab facilities. You mentioned, and it also says an amount not to exceed $8 million. So it could be an investment of $10. You're putting, or the bond issuance is $400 million. How much is going to Colorado and Greeley in particular?
In Greeley, there's nothing going to Greeley.
Well, how much
Banner has
in Colorado then?
There is some portion that is going to McKee Medical Center, and I think their portion is all refinancing. A portion, so what you have described in the notice describes the Wyoming portion only. A portion of the $400 million for the overall plan of finance, roughly about $155 million is refinancing.
Well,
so it's bonds that.
And is that $150 million to Colorado?
No, the refinancing portion of approximately $155 million, it was spread out over Arizona and Colorado facilities, and these are bonds that go back to the early like 2005 for existing facilities, and the notes would refinance those bonds.
I don't want to pick on you too much because I know you're just bond counsel and I know you're just doing your job, but I'd like to see a commitment of more than $8 million, not a up to $8 million. And certainly, although I've heard that there needs to be paint throughout that facility, I don't think paint is going to make our healthcare better in Natrona County. And so I will look forward to Mr. Porter inspiring me with what I would consider prudent use of up to $8 million, maybe more, from this bond issuance. I think that we ought to get some supporting documentation. Maybe I can work with our attorney and my board, this board, to make a specific request for documents that either you or Mr. Porter can provide.
Sure, you can, if Heather, if you want to get us a list of documents that you're looking for, I'm happy to also share what the kind of overall plan of finance is. The $8 million, because this is, again, just a federal approval, and the notice is intended to comply with and satisfy the federal approval requirements, that $8 million is a not to exceed amount, which does contain, kind of cushion for contingency, but that is the expected expenditures at the facility. But, happy to have Lance Porter attend, or, if there's some meeting you would like to have before that, or, and if you would like to, I'm sure we can arrange to have any of the Banner corporate people who are involved in the financing speak to you ahead of any public hearing as well.
I have a question. This
One
is
more
Dallas
question,
Clark.
Mr. Laird, Commissioner Laird, if I may. Or what happens if this commission doesn't sign off on this?
That was my question.
So if the county does not approve, then the notes cannot be used at Wyoming Medical Center. So, Banner would not be able to utilize any tax-exempt financing to do any projects at Wyoming Medical Center. There's a possibility that this type of approval can come from any kind of locality that has jurisdiction in that area. So sometimes you can go to a town for approval. Typically, we would go to the county level. In theory, you could also go to the state. So, if you were not willing to proceed or uncomfortable proceeding in any way, I think, in order to finance the project on a tax-exempt basis, Banner would need to see whether or not there's another jurisdiction in the state that could provide the approval under federal tax law. And if there isn't, the project could not go forward.
Well, on a tax-exempt basis, but it could still write the check. Okay, thank you.
Okay, Commissioner Laird.
This is Dallas Laird. I'm one of the commissioners. So you need us to approve it so that Wyoming Medical Center can get $8 million out of the $400 million to do some improvements. Is that the way I understand it?
That's correct. That's correct.
And it has no effect on the other other $300 whatever million, right? So really Wyoming's getting a couple crumbs is what they're getting. One of the things I wondered is that our foundation gives Banner about $8 million a year. And I'm wondering, do you know anything about that at all?
No, as I said, we're bond counsel to Banner Health, so I really do not know anything about, how much money their fundraising, their foundation brings in and where it comes from. I really don't.
Okay, so the issue is that most of the money goes to big Banner hospitals outside the state of Wyoming. Is that true?
As I said, I do not have any. We're bond counsel to Banner. We work solely on their taxes or their bond issues. So I don't have any information as to where any fundraising monies or any other monies that come into Banner get allocated. Our role with Banner is strictly limited to doing their bond counsel work.
Yeah, so that's why I would like to talk to some other people about it. But it seems to me, just politically, $8 million out of $400 million isn't much. It's a little crumb, and it's not going to make the people of Natrona County any more happy with Banner than they already are. So I know that isn't really your point, but you've cleared up a couple things for me. Thank you.
All right, any other questions? All right. Well, thank you. We appreciate your time, Christine. And we will have discussion and see if we can get something set up by probably March 4th to have Banner come in here and discuss this with us.
Okay, so Heather, I'll wait to hear from you in terms of, whether you want additional information or you want to set up anything in advance, or whether I can facilitate having anyone from Banner Corporate and Lance Porter talk with the commission ahead of any public hearing.
Okay, I appreciate it. We'll have legal counsel work with you on that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right, take care. Bye-bye.
Okay. updates that we need to go into executive session for?
Just a couple other items. Lead is unavailable today, so we won't discuss the public records draft with you today. One item that I did include, just to put on your radar to see if there's any interest, I included a copy of Teton County's Board of County Commissioners Rules of Meeting Procedures. I think it would be a good idea for our board to look at this and not necessarily adopt these particular rules, but adopt some kind of rules to govern our meetings. Wanted to put this out there for you to take a look at to see if you have any interest in doing that. And of course, if you do, we'll work on preparing a draft for your consideration.
Okay. Any questions about that? Commissioner Nicholas?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Heather, who obtained these?
I found them online, Commissioner Nicolaisen.
Have you done any due diligence to see if other counties have rules of meetings, procedures? You know, Teton County is good for a lot of things, but I'm not sure that's always the example for Natrona County.
Mr. Commissioner Nicolaisen, I had done some looking. I wasn't able to find online any other rules such as these. I can continue to keep looking, maybe make some calls and see if there are other examples, if the board would like to look at some different examples.
In my experience, it might be useful to find at least one other example, and then one might be, you know, clearly more or less than what we might want, and it really might give us better information on which direction the commission might want to go.
Okay.
We'll work on that and get you, if I can find another version or another counties, we'll get it to you as soon as we can to take a look at.
Mr. Chairman, did you check with Albany County, Cheyenne?
It's Laramie County.
I mean Laramie County, Cheyenne,
I just kind of did a quick search online. I haven't made any calls or done a real,
and Albany
search.
County also in Laramie.
Okay. Those are good ideas.
They'd be
Thank
more
you.
likely to have something.
So.
Or Fort Collins, Colorado.
Have we got anything for executive session that we need to cover as far as updates or anything as far as any of our?
My understanding on the agenda, Chairman North, there's, I think, potentially a personnel matter. I know there's litigation. We can give a quick litigation update. And then I think potentially legal advice on a matter.
Okay. All right. With that, do I have a motion to go into?
I do have a question about it. If it's a litigation update, is it subject to this meeting? Oh, I thought only legal advice was subject to being in the executive meeting.
No,
You're going to tell us what's the public record? I don't think that's.
No, it would be pending litigation or litigation currently that the county is involved with, so it would be protected as an attorney-client privileged update.
Well, I know legal advice is if you're going to say, well, we're going to do this and we're going to do that in here, but if you're going to tell us where it's all standing, like there's a complaint filed and a lawyer hired and this and that, that isn't executive material.
No, I don't have just a general update like that, Commissioner Laird.
I guess we'll see what it is.
Okay. So do I have a motion to go into executive session?
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. We're in executive session. Okay, we're back in session. No action was taken. Tracy, you'd like to address this?
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, real quick, I had sent an email out and I just would kind of like a quick follow-up if you don't mind. I have some concerns regarding on the heavy traffic coming from our new parking lot. There are 2 entrances and exits to that lot, and the traffic gets quite congested, especially at 5 p.m. I'm worried about the staff as they're crossing B Street during this time, even the upper and the lower part of B Street. A lot of activity is happening all at once. There's vehicle, pedestrians, which isn't ideal, and especially at night, it's hard to see. So I would ask that you would entertain the idea of having Garrett close off the entrance or that entrance exit portion from B Street and having only Market Street being the one access. That's it.
Okay. Any suggestions? Commissioner Nicolason?
I'm fine with that, Mr. Chairman, although I think that our ingress egress might change as we further develop that lot. So once we go to have a plan for pavement or whatever, but I'm fine with it temporarily shutting down the B Street.
Anybody else? Any comments on that? Okay. All right.
Thank you.
All right. Go down to the WCCA legislative updates. Right now, I'll start out because I've been kind of following some of this stuff, and I've testified on a few things. Sorry. Right now, with the property tax, residential property tax, they're looking at dropping with the Amendment 8, they're looking at dropping it down to 8.25% to 8.3%. In addition to that, there's 2 bills going through, one in the Senate, one in the House, that right now the number that I've heard that they're settling on is reducing property tax by 25% with no backfill. Doing a little bit of calculations, rough calculations, that's going to mean approximately a $6.3 million cut, how much we receive. So that's going to be, that doesn't include all the other bills that are out there as far as the long-term property owners, all the other exemptions, and they're still trying to figure out how they're going to address that as far as whether they're cumulative or if they're set at that you can't have more than a certain percentage off. So those are the main things. We did have this morning, there was a hearing on House Bill 219, which is the county roads and having they go across state lands, and that came out of committee 9-0. So that was a good sign. So we're moving forward on that. You know, everything's changing so fast down there. They're staying late and everything else. So I can't keep track of what all's going on. I'm trying my best, but there's just so many moving parts down there this year and so many bills, it's hard to keep track of anything. So has anybody else got anything to add?
I have a question, maybe Mr. Nicolason knows the answer. Are they going to pass that bill, do you think, Peter, where we'd elect judges?
Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Nicolason.
First of all, it's a resolution. It's not a bill. It's a resolution so that there is a constitutional amendment to allow for the election of judges rather than the appointment and retention. It's a horrible idea, and I think that it would do great and irreparable damage to our legal system in Wyoming if it were to go through. I think that our system is one of the bedrocks of what makes Wyoming great. We have professional, competent attorneys who go through a process of nomination and then appointment. And then there's a retention election component that the voters, if they don't like, and it has happened before, and Commissioner Laird, you're familiar with a couple over the years that haven't been retained. I mean, it happens. So I think it'd be a travesty to our state if it were to go through. So things are moving in some regards pretty fast and in some regards pretty slow. I think that there's Senate File 69 that passed the third reading, and that's the exemption for residences for 50% of the value up to the first million. The backfill is really the key, and what that means is if we're going to have a $4, $5, $6, $8 million shortfall, that the Wyoming legislature makes sure that state funding, because we are, a county is an arm of the state, is supported fiscally so that we're not having to lay off staff and we're not having to lay off operators of motor graders and deputies and a lot of other really key employees. There is no way I think we could get by without significant cuts to our budget across the board if there isn't backfill. So I hope I'm concerned that certain people and people say it's the Freedom Caucus, but whomever it is, that they're not looking at local impact closely enough. There just isn't a way to get for us to continue with huge cuts like that aren't backfilled. Treatment Court Amendments Bill, Senate File 126, that is essentially something that would provide an alternative path for people with mental health issues, and I think it could both save judicial and sheriff detention center resources if that goes through. House Bill 85 is to allow local government additional authority over horse racing. That is, some of these historic horse racing gambling outfits, and so the WCCA is in support of that. Also in support of allowing counties to make investments in equities. That's Senate File 145. Senate File 154 is one I've been working with Senator Boner on my own behalf on. That would increase the amount of time for counties in the Industrial Siting Division to review and hold hearings on applications for industrial projects by roughly 30 days. Just it gives the county a little more time, and it gives the state a little more time. So it's not a real big deal, but I think it's helpful. The Senate File 47, modifying the Parks Recreation Board statutes, was pulled, but it was refiled as House Bill 288 by Representative Lean. So we'll see if that goes anywhere. House Bill 262 is one I was prepared to testify on, but they didn't get through electronic voting and hand count ballots, that bill. So House Bill 262 is to allow us to keep our hospital funds. Basically, there's a bill that says that anything over our 1 year general operating expenditures has to be returned to homeowners who have owned a home for more than a year. So basically, we're talking about $100 million going to how many ever thousands of people in Natrona County, which might be nice, but the source of those funds wasn't from taxpayers. It was from property appreciation over the course of 60 or 70 years of time. So it's really, the shoe doesn't fit. And hopefully that won't go anywhere, but I may be testifying on that tomorrow. That kind of ability to have a reserve for contingency planning and for windfalls like the sale of hospitals provides for counties like ours. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Anybody else on any of the updates? Just for clarification, on 69, it went from 50 to 25, and it's back up to 25 now, and it's not at 50, so that's at least a little better, but it doesn't have any backfill. It went from 2, now it's back down to 1. Yes, yes, it is 25 right now. Senator Landon sent me a text last week and said that they did get that back down to 25%. So that helps us out a little bit, and those are the numbers that I was referring to, was the 25% plus the change in the residential property. Anything else? All right, we'll go to commissioner comments then. Commissioner Milne.
No, Peter talked about the brilliant legislation for taking the county's funds or municipality or whatever and leaving them basically holding an empty bucket till next year. The legislator that proposed that, I don't honestly know what they're thinking. We need to oppose that as much as possible, let people know. It would have some serious repercussions to this county, to the other counties, to the municipalities across the board. I'm not sure down in Cheyenne they understand what it means to not backfill some of these cuts that they're doing as well. You have municipalities that have already cut to the bone pretty much as they can, such as your mills. There's not a lot of fat there. And so if they've already cut and they don't get the backfill, it's going to hurt them even more than communities that have fluff, that have that fat that can be trimmed. It's going to hurt the communities that can't do take that hit because they've already cut everything that they possibly can pretty much. So I'm not really sure what they're thinking. Everybody kind of eyeballed me a little bit during our meeting when I said maybe snow plows don't go by their house if they vote for this stuff. Maybe they need to feel a little bit of pain if they're voting for this, where the citizens are feeling the pain because they won't fund what we need. That's all I got. Oh, hey, I do have one more thing.
Oh, sure. Go ahead.
So, first CNFR meeting was last night, and CNFR for last year was voted with Oil City the #1 community event for the year. So that was pretty cool.
Commissioner Nicolason.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I thought Commissioner Milne was going to say the #1 Natrona County. The only, in any event. Mr. Chairman, respectfully, I'm not sure, but actually I am sure based on what I'm seeing on the website. It's not at 25, it's at 50%.
With the amendment?
So I think it went back up, yeah.
They may have.
Yeah, I'm kind of working backward from most recent back. So in any event, it will have impact on Natrona County significantly. The investment committee met last week, I believe, and with our investment advisors, basically we're doing pretty well. We are planning on having them come in to our February 18th meeting. They're going to give a thorough, comprehensive review to the commission. We're also at that meeting going to consider revisions to our investment policy. And I'm just giving the commissioners a heads up. That's going to include our ability to invest in corporate bonds, which is permitted by the state treasurer, and the city of Casper does it, other counties do it. We've been advised by our consultants, our investment advisors, to do it. There are a couple other changes. Once the investment committee gets through its draft, that'll be forwarded to the commission immediately. Those are all my updates.
Commissioner Laird.
I really think it's important, gentlemen, to fairly quickly pass Robert's Rules of Orders that would govern this commission. I think it would do us all a great deal of good and help the meetings to be run orderly and properly. Thank you.
Commissioner Coach?
Just a few mentions on the property tax issue. This is really nothing new in the grand scheme of the United States. This happened in the 70s or 80s with Proposition 13 and Proposition 2.5 in other states. So, what we're seeing is a call from our local communities to do something. That something will inevitably affect them in one way or the other, whether it's been pondered or not as to what particular services they may or may not desire. Personally, it's something that I would urge every individual to do when they think about the cutting of property taxes. Property taxes exist as one of those taxes that we all love to hate, but there is some necessity in them in the fact that they are somewhat stable with respect to other taxation abilities. Certainly, cities like the City of Mills have made cuts and will continue to make cuts in times of hardship, but that, of course, does impact the level of service that cities and towns are able to provide. So that is really all I have on that one.
The other bill that I had an opportunity to testify on was the fire fund, the fire relief fund, and getting that filled back up. And I'm happy to say that the Senate committee did pass that unanimously to move on. There's a lot of, with everything that happened last year up in the northwest portion of the state, and the fires that weren't anybody's fault. It was just something that happened because all the conditions were right. And we all know that those conditions can be right every year for several years around here, and there's no telling where it's going to happen next. So I think it was very important that we did. I did bring up the fact that having the seat base here is something that really helped out tremendously as far as being able to keep those fires mitigated as well as we did, even when they're the high winds and the bad conditions. So the biggest thing that they're looking at right now is basically invasive species coming back in, such as cheatgrass that come in immediately after fire. And that just makes it even just that much worse because they outcompete everything and they're the first ones to come back in. So there's a lot of those issues out there that we really need to make sure that the state is covered, and I hope that they will backfill that and they'll fill that fund back up, so that we don't get caught without the money to be able to do things that we need to do. So with that, I don't have anything else, and we will be adjourned until 5:30 when we will start the hearing. Has anybody got anything else prior to us adjourning? All right, we are adjourned for recess.